So I could have done a better job dumping this out, but no matter. I'll hop in here with the shovel and level it out real quick. There. Got it raked out level, checked it with the laser, looks good. I'm going to mark the corners of the building so that I can lay these pipes so that they come up right where I want them. And then I'll compact everything. I'm driving a couple stakes here so that I can string a line, and this line will line up all the piers for the pole barn portion of the building. And then I'll pull off of this line to be able to figure out where the corners will be for the kiln. I got my handy little laser here. Get it lined up. Now I gotta get this lined up with the string. There it is. Okay. Okay, that's pretty perfect. All right. So it should be over there on that board, as long as that dirt's not blocking it. There you are. Right in the center. We need to come to 7 feet 10. Right in the middle. Okay. Perfect. Now we can string a little string here, string some more strings. I can grab a marker and mark that string there. And then maybe I'll get Christy to help me mark out the string, and then I'll just plumb down. That's probably what I'll do. Almost forgot my ground. So I'm going to pound this in, and I'll probably just run some of this extra wire just in the trench, and then run a wire up, probably next to this little conduit, I guess. And I'll just tape it off to it. You may notice that I'm only using a 4-foot ground rod, but it's a copper ground rod, and our soil is super compacted, and I couldn't get an 8-foot one even if I wanted to. And I'm also running a long leg off of this one down into the trench about 10 or 15 feet. So believe it or not, this will work good for our ground, but it may not work for yours, so take my method with a grain of salt. So in case you didn't catch the video where I detailed the design for this building, I'll show you the floor plan. So right now I'm going to work on just the kiln and all the piers for the pole barn. Once I pour this concrete backfill, then I can pour a slab that will go inside the pole barn area and also extend out for the sawmill itself to rest on. And the sawmill slab and all that will be in another video. Alright, time to go install those. Okay, well I'm out of nails. I was almost done. I need like another 20-30 nails and I'd be done. I'm gonna go over, do some work on the house. When I come back, I'll bring the foam and start working on... Oh no, I gotta dump some gravel in here first and then foam. Making progress. saplings already, but we gotta cut it down. It's like a roller coaster coming in here always.
Huh?
Oh, there's Grandpa. Okay, there's all the foam. Okay, we'll see if this makes it over to the build site. So I got 5 inches of foam down, and now I'm gonna staple down this tubing here with this stapler. I just gotta go grab some more staples. So there are these little staples here. They're made for 2-inch foam. I think you can buy ones for 1.5-inch foam, or inch foam even, but they don't hold very well. But so yeah, this actually works really well. Got to get this set up on some sawhorses, and then I'll be able to unspool it and just staple it down. Those are my homemade styrofoam dobies to keep the rebar up away from my PEX tubing. Well, I've been staring at this, thinking about this for a long time, and I ate some lunch and thought about it one more time, and I'm going to make one final major change to the layout, of course. These are in the wrong spot now, but this will be very easy to move. This is easy, this is easy. I just have to cut these two pipes, and it's really easy to move all this stuff over into this wall. Because I finally figured out I'm going to put the rocket stove in that corner. On the plans, originally I had it in this corner, and then I thought about it more and realized that for functionality I'm going to need it down on that end, and for loading the kiln it would just be easier to have an aisle rather than have a stove in the way every time you're trying to load the kiln with wood. When I'm loading the kiln, I'd rather have the door on this side. And then I also, originally on the original plans, I wanted the exhaust to end up out here. So if I put the stove down in that corner, I'll run the exhaust down and around and out here like I originally wanted it. And then I'll have my door pretty much all the way to here. And then when the door's open, I'll have an aisle all the way to the rocket stove, even if it's completely full of wood. I hope that makes sense. Alright, time to move this stuff. Wish I would have thought this out sooner, but it's not going to be too bad. So that box there is going to create a void in the slab that the core of the rocket stove, well, basically there'll be insulation on the bottom, and then the core of the rocket stove will sit up on top of the insulation that allow it to sit down recessed into the slab. I guess I should mention that if you've never heard of a rocket stove, here's a picture of one. And basically they burn super hot because they're highly insulated, and then they also capture as much heat as possible from the exhaust smoke. So I'm using the slab as the thermal mass for the rocket stove. Also, the black stove pipe you see for the first about 10 feet there is actual stove pipe, and then the rest, well, the majority of the rest is just standard galvanized ducting. And I just did that just to save some money, because it's not really necessary to have stovepipe the whole way, because the smoke gets cooled off so much by the time it's 10 feet into the thermal mass. And finally, all those T's are for clean outs. So at each corner you have a way to get in there and get any ash that may make it past the barrel. Okay, I'm going to secure it with wire, but I got this paper here because I want to wrap the pipe. And that might sound a little crazy, but I want to wrap the pipe to create an expansion joint for the metal so that the concrete doesn't just squish down on the metal, and then when I light up the stove it just can't expand the way it wants to. I don't know if that would cause any problems, but when I was reading about rocket stoves and when I built the first rocket stove, I did that and I haven't had any problems. So, well, the first rocket stove I didn't use paper, I used sheetrock mud, just plaster of Paris. But this, I figured I'd just try wrapping it in paper. Maybe I'll throw a little bit of tape. The tape I have is this stuff, but it's got the little plastic coating. It's got a tiny little plastic coating on it, but I'm sure it'd be fine. I mean, we're not living in here, so if it burns off a little bit the first few fires, no big deal. I'm gonna make sure that doesn't deflect, and get dimpled in. I guess I could put a cap in it and just tape it off. Maybe that's what I'll do. I'm just gonna finish wrapping the paper around the last of the pipe, and then start wrapping some wire to secure the pipe to the rebar. I've made little rebar trees out of 4 pieces of number 3 rebar, and I'm just kind of standing and balancing them up inside the forms on top of a rock, and then when I pour it I'll just make sure that the rebar is centered in the form. I lift this box, it's about 10 inches there, and I think it was like almost 13 inches there. We'll see how this all works out. I just kind of decided I didn't want to tuck it too close to the wall because I don't want to heat up this wall too much, and I want some clearance, and I want my barrel to have plenty of clearance around the corner here. And I'm thinking even I'm going to build a little brick wall that comes up, or I might put some forms in and just pour concrete around a lot of the barrel and make kind of a, well, you'll see. But then I was also thinking well, you'll have to just wait and see how I'm gonna do all this, I guess. So will I. I'm gonna kind of figure it out as I go. The dew kind of soaked my paper a little bit. It seems to be all right. I just have to be real careful when I'm pouring so I don't tear the paper off. I gotta remember to, it won't be hard. Pull this over. I got it pretty braced off. I'll probably add just a couple more, because you can never have enough. These guys are solid. Just gotta go get the concrete tools.
tied down to the V-bar. The V-bar came up with it. Yeah.
Wow.
Oh, that was a nice shot. Yeah, players.
And then there was no rocket stove. Oh, that was oh. I realized after they were floating that what I should have done was fill it about halfway, let the concrete set up, and then fill it the rest of the way. Wow, look at that bow. I'd say it's bowed out a good 1.5 inches. Another thing I should have done was definitely put some ties from this wall to that wall, like rebar or something, bolted, you know, like almost like an all thread, just like at least like 3 bolts from that side to that side would have kept it nice and parallel. How much is this one bowing? Probably at least, it's probably a little less, but at least she's nice and level. That was a nice thought. At least the form's held. Well, let's polish this turd. Well, it's the next day now. Depressing day yesterday. There's the carnage. Put a lot of time and effort into thinking about how I was going to do this rocket stove, and in a second it's gone. Oh, it's warm. Wow, it's really warm. Losing the stove doesn't bother me as much as just like the first thought I had after seeing the bow on the walls was, why didn't I put it, you know, make some rebar ties that go all the way? Because I was kind of bothered thinking, should I throw in even more braces? Like, it felt super solid. And I thought, you know, at some point it's overkill. And even if I had thrown in like another couple braces on each side, I don't think it would have helped. But if I had ties, oh, it's just so irritating to think of a perfect solution like the instant it happens. And if I hadn't have been in such a rush to try to build this, maybe I wouldn't have missed that. Maybe I would have thought, oh, you know what? Maybe I should secure this rebar down. If I had secured the rebar down, if I had put those ties in, maybe it would have held the pipe down. If I would have filled it halfway first, let it set up, and then fill it the rest of the way. There's a whole bunch of mistakes. And now, the one that bothers me the most, because now I have to straighten the walls, and it's going to be a real pain. Well, not a real pain, but it would have been so easy just to slap on the sides how I was going to do it, but now, just irritating. And no rocket stove. So I want to strip these forms and see what I'm looking at, because it bulged so far. I'm curious as to what the sides look like now. Maddening. that with the grinder real quick. That'll be smooth. Let's see what the rest of this looks like. This is why you don't drive with a toddler on your lap. Look at that. I think that's from this. Right here.
And look at that thing.
Yeah, we'll see if there's like a little mark like that.
Look at that side.
Yeah. But look at that. It hit right between the taillight and the glass. We got so lucky. And we hit and it stopped us. Forgot the backhoe was here. It's not too bad either. I can live with that.
Look at that.
As long as the door opens. Oh. Uh-oh.
What uh-oh?
Oh no. Definitely gonna have to do some body work. I crunched it good.
Let's get a new van.
Let's get a new van.
Good.
Okay, there, yeah. See? Ain't no thing. Okay, it still works. Still works. I can just bang it out a little bit here.
It goes all the way open.
Yeah, it does.
Huh. That's great.
Totally. And just a little body work. Okay, alright. Chalk that one up as lucky. Uh-oh. Just a little jankier than it was, that's all.
That was crazy.
Crazy.